Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. The quarterly meeting of the Texas State University System Board of Regents will now come to order. The meeting is authorized under the Government Code, Chapter 551, regarding the Open Meetings Act. The agenda for this meeting was registered with the Secretary of State on November 10th, 2022. For the record, the date is November 17th, and the time is 12:31 p.m. A quorum of the board is present. Please note for the record that Regent Nikki Harrell is absent. All in attendance, please rise. Regent Tinsley, will you please deliver the invocation?
Yes, sir. Dear God, in this season of Thanksgiving and the upcoming season of Christmas, we pray that you help us to embrace the Thanksgiving spirit of gratitude and thankfulness and the Christmas spirit of love and compassion in all that we do and say. Help us to remember that the decisions we make today should be made with careful deliberation to strengthen our member institutions, these important centers of education responsible for helping to shape, mold, and challenge the future leaders of our community, state, and nation. And we offer a special prayer for the parents, friends, and faculty members of the students who have tragically lost their lives on college campuses in Idaho and Virginia during the last few days. We offer this prayer in the spirit of our Christ who came to give us life. Amen.
Regent Lee, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Regent Flores, will you lead us in the Texas Pledge?
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. I want to begin by thanking President Danfus and his team at Texas State for hosting us the next 2 days. Certainly enjoyed our dinner last night with Beth and last evening at the new house. It was great, pleasant. Food was fantastic. Thank you. Great host for sure. The dogs were even better. And we know we have a lot on your plate these first few months as president, so thank you for that as well. I know it's a lot, so been more than gracious. I would like to welcome Dr. Sid Valentine to his first official board meeting as president of the Lamar Institute of Technology. There you are. Certainly have big shoes to fill and great things happening there, so a lot of fun coming up. Although she wasn't able to make it with us today, I would also like to congratulate Regent Nikki Harrell on being elected as the county judge of Callahan County this past week. Callahan County's gain will be our loss, and we want to thank Nikki for her service as we wish her the best in her new role. As we get started with regular business, I would like to remind the board that after a motion is made on an agenda item, that if you wish to second the motion, please raise your hand and wait for me to recognize you for the proper recording of the meeting minutes. Also, a reminder to all present, we are live streaming this meeting over the internet. If you would, please silence your phones and devices. Our first two items of business are the approvals of the previous meeting's minutes held August 11th and 12th, and the special called meeting held August 15th of this year. Regents, are there any additions or corrections to the August meeting minutes? If there are none, I move that the minutes of the quarterly Board of Regents meeting held August 11th and 12th, 2022 be approved. Second. Regent Tinsley, second. Any discussion? Is there any objection to this motion? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Regents, are there any additions or corrections to the August 15th special called meeting minutes? If there are none, I move these minutes of the special called meeting held August 15th be approved. Do I hear a second? Second by Regent Faskey. Any discussion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. We will now hear the reports and motions from the committees. The committees met prior to the board meeting to go over the proposed agenda items in detail. All items under consideration were voted on by the committee before coming to the full board. I will call on the chairs of the committees to present the reports and make motions to the full board. First, we'll start with the Academic and Health Affairs Committee. Regent Gary Crane. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before discussing the agenda items from the Academic and Health Affairs Committee meeting, I'd like to invite Dr. John Hayek to come to the podium. He's our Vice Chancellor for Academic and Health Affairs, and he's going to introduce a few of our guests. Go ahead, Dr. Hayek.
Great. Thank you, Chair Crane. Good afternoon, Regents. As most of you know, Dr. Bill Angrove is the system's Chief Online Education Officer, and I'd like to invite him to the podium for a brief update video today. He's served in this capacity for the past 5 years while working as a senior advisor to the system for online education for the last 10 years. At the same time, Dr. Angrove serves as the Associate Vice President for Online Learning at Sam Houston State University, and has done so for the past 14 years. And prior to that, he spent 15 years in distance education at University of Texas at San Antonio. He also holds a doctoral degree in education leadership from the University of New England. Dr. Angrove.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Chair Austin, Regents, Chancellor McCall. We recently completed the 6th edition of the Texas State University System Online Education Annual Report. The report reviews current research and national trends in online education, and the report quantifies 3 key performance indicators for our 7 institutions. They include the number of degree programs that we offer online. They include the number of semester credit hours we generate online. And they include the number of degrees that were awarded online. And I'm pleased to say that we exceeded our goals this year. We have a very brief 2-minute video to show some highlights.
A retrospective view of the past 6 years in online higher education leaves no doubt of the complex challenges wrought on institutions large and small. Facing natural disasters like Hurricane Harvey or a global pandemic, the Texas State University System's online enterprise has been proactive in our preparations for academic continuity, shared services, and in opening new markets for enrollments. A chief focus has been the quality of the online learning and teaching experience, including increased mobile compatibility, more accessibility in online content, and the rise of alternative credentials. TSUS institutions are responding to these opportunities in diverse ways. 74% of online college students want to use their mobile devices to help them progress, no matter where they are, through their courses. TSUS institutions are responding to this shift in how students engage with and consume educational content through the deployment of Blackboard Ultra. The latest version of Blackboard Ultra allows students to move between devices without interruptions to their engagement with learning content. Adoption of Ally for the learning management system is growing. Built into the TSUS Shared Services Initiative, Ally is a tool that provides alternate file formats, including electronic braille, semantic HTML, multilingual audio, and other inclusive technologies. Another important accessibility technology, Kaltura Reach, allows automatic captioning of videos in all courses for maximum accessibility to all students. Ally and Kaltura Reach thus play a critical role in inclusive, ADA-compliant course design for all TSUS institutions. Corporations need talented employees with wide-ranging credentials. TSUS institutions are responding by developing alternative and certificate programs to address business expectations and to prepare students with marketable skills. In 2022, 1/3 of TSUS students are studying exclusively online, representing a significant increase in the number of online students. The Texas State University system continues to be a leader in online education among Texas public university systems, and we will continue to respond to the needs of students in the years to come.
Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Well, Dr. Andgrove, thank you for that update, okay? It's very good to see that our systems and our institutions are continuing to be leaders in online education. Thank you, sir, for everything.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Hayek, join us again and tell us what's next.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Crane, and thank you, Dr. Angrove. Next, we have a brief update on research across the system. Our system has over 4,100 faculty members producing amazing creative works, scholarship, and research, in addition to their teaching and service responsibilities. And I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Chad Hargrave this afternoon, who will provide a brief update specifically on the system's sponsored research activity over this past year. Dr. Hargrave is Associate Provost and Chief Research Officer at Sam Houston State University and has served in that capacity for almost 5 years. He is an outstanding collaborator and strategic thinker and has been enormously helpful to the system in terms of bringing folks together to think about ways to increase research and service to the state. He's a biology professor and has been a member of Sam Houston's faculty for over 15 years. He holds a master's and doctoral degree in aquatic ecology from the University of Oklahoma. Dr. Hargrave.
Thank you, Dr. Hayek. Chancellor and Regents, I am thrilled to provide you a brief update on the grant-funded activity that is happening across the system. I want to begin with numbers. So I'm excited because we've seen tremendous growth over the past 5 years. So if you look at the graph, or the slide, the grant dollars spent over the last 5 years from FY15 to FY20 has increased 60% system-wide. Now the availability of grant dollars to spend is completely dependent on the number of proposals going out and the number of awards we receive. So as you would expect, we see an increase in the number of proposals submitted. It increased by 23%, and the number of proposals awarded increased by 35% across the board. The growth system-wide is a function of growth at the individual four-year schools. For example, Texas State University saw a 48% increase in grant-related funding over that 5-year time period. Sam Houston State University saw a 300% increase. Lamar University, a 54% increase, and Sul Ross, a 5% increase. The grant funding came from 3 different sources. 49% of the funding came from nonprofit and private organizations, 46% of the funding from federal sources, and 5% of the funding from state sources. The funding went to a variety of sectors, supported work in a variety of sectors. 55% of the funding went to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields, and 45% of the funding went to STEM-related fields, such as education, humanities, and the arts. So the money is only part of the story. The other part is the nature of the work and the impact of that work on Texas and Texans. So what we have done here is selected a handful of projects that are grant funded from across the system to demonstrate the breadth of work we are doing as a system and the impact that work is having on Texans. To begin, go back, okay, thank you. To begin, our work is benefiting the health and well-being of Texans. We have a project that helps law enforcement cope with the stressors related to their jobs. That benefits our law enforcement community. We have a project that studies the post-traumatic stress in children and the impacts of that stress on their personal health. That work will result in targeted interventions and treatments We have translational research. Specifically, we use technology to analyze big data that will allow new treatments and medications. We also have work that is aimed at protecting the natural and agricultural ecosystems in Texas that has impacts on our economy, because healthy ecosystems, agricultural or natural, can stand up against natural disturbances. So we have a project that focuses on the habitat of the Chihuahuan Desert ecosystem in southwest Texas. We have a project that models flood impacts in southeast Texas, and those models are used to evaluate the value of different flood mitigation strategies. And we have projects that track and monitor invasive species throughout the state so that farmers and growers in Texas can respond to potential pest outbreaks. Finally, our work invests in the future of Texas. We have upskilling and reskilling programs that enhance the Texas workforce, and we have a project and a well-respected program in helping students with disabilities transition throughout their academic career from elementary school through college, which creates a pipeline for them to enter the workforce. Again, I hope I can demonstrate to you the upward trajectory of Texas State University system, the impact we have on the state. I'm honored to present this with my collaborators, my colleagues, the other chief research officers in the system. They work very, very hard with system leadership to put our faculty and our staff in front of funding opportunities that expands the mission and the impact of our institutions, but also the system as a whole. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hargrave. What you've presented to us is absolutely fabulous from a research update part. We thank you for that. It shows impressive results, and it looks like some positive momentum for our future growth and impact as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one final speaker this afternoon for Academic and Health Affairs. Our last presenter this afternoon is Dr. Shreek Mandahim, who was named Texas State University's new Chief Research Officer in July of this year. Shreek is going to provide a quick update on Texas State's plan to achieve R1 Research University status. Prior to Texas State, he was Vice President for Research at Rowan University in New Jersey, where he also helped found the institution's Virtual Reality Center. He also spent time as Executive Director of the South Jersey Technology Park. He has served as a Senior Research Associate at NASA's Stennis Space Center in Mississippi and as a consultant at GE Global Research. He holds a master's and doctoral degree in electrical engineering from Iowa State University. Dr. Mandahim.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Hayek, for that kind introduction, and good afternoon. Texas State University currently, in the Carnegie classification that came out in 2021 last year, is classified as a doctoral research university with high research activity. Our goal is to, and that is known as R2, our goal is to achieve R1 status, which is a doctoral university with very high research activity, which puts us in a class of universities, about 140 in this nation, that are at R1. So President Damphis has established a presidential commission drawn from faculty, administrators, and staff from across the campus to come up with plans for us to run to R1 by 2027, in 5 years. The next classification of the Carnegie Foundation comes out in 2023, which is a little early for us. So 2027, in 5 years, is what we are looking at to run to R1. So President Damphis's directive to the commission is to really first benchmark what is necessary to get there, conduct a comprehensive review of our strategies, not really be burdened by the past, and be aggressive in our goals to meet the R1 classification by 2027, and prioritize our strategies and our resources to get there. And next slide, please. So the commission was appointed in September. We have a very aggressive timeline, as you can see. We are expected to make our first formal recommendation by January, but in fact, President Danforth has said, if you have an early recommendation, get it out to us so that we can move as fast as we can. And so that's what we are looking at. I'll get the next slide. So the metrics for R1 are really three metrics. One are research expenditures, and the Carnegie Foundation measures these metrics at certain times. And so to achieve R1 in 2027, they'll look at the fiscal year 26 report to the National Science Foundation Higher Education Research and Development Survey. Similarly, the other two metrics are the number of PhD graduates that we will graduate, particularly by spring 2026, and the number of postdoctoral research appointments we have on campus in 2024. So these are timed metrics that we have to meet if we have a 2027 goal. So if you look at our research expenditures for FY 2022, we just closed the books on this. We are at $110 million in research expenditures, which is twice the research expenditures of some R1 institutions in the state of Texas. So we are doing really well there. It's a tripling of research expenditures here at Texas State in the last 10 years, which is a testament to our faculty and the investments made by the institutions, by the institution in promoting research at Texas State. So it's a wonderful time to come here to be CRO at Texas State University. So our goal really is the other two metrics, because we have already met the research expenditure metrics and we will grow that, but the goal is to increase the number of PhD graduates and increase the number of research postdocs on campus. And the R1 Commission is being very intentional in the recommendation that we are making, and we are focusing on three programs that have current programs, PhD programs that exist, that currently are able to graduate students at the fastest rate, and also those programs that have been designed to provide jobs for the graduates upon graduation. So not a coincidence that the graduation rate and the job market are very much interlinked. So that is the computer science program, the material science and engineering commercialization program, and the integrative biology program. So those are the ones we are making early recommendations for immediate investment. In fact, the recommendation will be coming to the president this afternoon. So you're hearing news of this for the first time. But then we are addressing the other measures as well. I just want to end by saying that the run to R1, we are hoping that all our sister institutions will run with us, because there are enormous opportunities for collaboration and growing all of our research enterprises in the system. Just this week, Chad Hargrave and I have been discussing with our faculty to submit a joint proposal to address the nursing shortage in the country with HRSA. So there are many such opportunities for us to work jointly together to submit proposals and raise our research expenditures in our institutions. So we will all be running together on this. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mandam, for that update on our research efforts. Sounds like some great work, and we look forward to being updated on how things are progressing on Texas State's goal of achieving R1 status. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to go ahead and kick off? Okay, thank you, sir. The Academic and Health Affairs Committee met telephonically on Monday, November 7th, 2022, and it was chaired by me with committee members Regent Flores, Regent Harrell, and Regent Lee, all in attendance, as well as representatives from our institutions and system staff. All action and consent items were reviewed, discussed, and approved by the committee to be moved to the full board. I will now make a motion for approval of each one of the, I think, 7 items. The board chair will then call for a second from any regent. The very first item is for consideration, is from Lamar University. Chair Austin, I move that Lamar University be authorized to offer a new Bachelor of Science in Biology education degree effective fall 2023. Mr. Chairman.
Do I hear a second? Regent Amato. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The second item on the list for consideration is also from Lamar University. Chair Austin, I move that Lamar University be authorized to offer a new Master of Science in Strategic Communications degree effective fall 2023. Mr. Chairman.
Do I hear a second? Regent Fusky. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The third item for consideration is from Sam Houston State University. Chair Austin, I move that Sam Houston State University be authorized to offer a new Bachelor of Science in Data Science degree effective fall 2023. Mr. Chairman.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Regent Tinsley. Any discussion?
Just for the record, that's a big degree. We've been recruiting as much as we can with that degree. Big demand for those students.
I agree with Charlie. It's a real need in the industry. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
The fourth item for consideration is from Lamar State College, Orange. Chair Austin, I move that Lamar State College, Orange be authorized to offer a new basic certificate, a new intermediate certificate, and a new Associate of Applied Science degree in automotive technology effective fall 2023. Mr. Chairman.
Do I hear a second? Regent Fusky. Any discussion? Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
The fifth item on our list is another from Lamar State College in Orange. Chair Austin, I move that Lamar State College, Orange be authorized to offer a new basic certificate, a new intermediate certificate, and a new Associate of Applied Science degree in heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration, better known as HVAC, effective fall 2023. Mr. Chairman.
Do I hear a second? Regent Amato. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The sixth item for consideration is also from Lamar State College in Orange. Chair Austin, I move that the new vision statement and mission statement for Lamar State College Orange be reviewed and approved. Mr. Chairman.
Do I hear a second? Regent Flores. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes.
All right, the final seventh item for consideration are informational only and include the summer 2022 certified enrollment report for the Texas State University system, as well as the fall 2022 preliminary enrollment report. I don't think there's any action that we take on those. Those are informational only, so all remaining items are included in the consent agenda unless someone wishes to remove something from that agenda. Mr. Chairman, this concludes the committee's report to the board.
Thank you, Regent Crane. I would say for the board and myself that the degrees that we are putting in place are certainly useful to industry, and I commend the faculty and staff of the universities of what they're doing. Certainly, these kids are going out and leaving and getting jobs, so that's the goals, and we are meeting those in the group. So, thank you. Next up, we have the Finance and Audit Committee. Regent Tinsley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance and Audit Committee met telephonically on November 8, 2022 to discuss finance and audit items included in today's agenda. I chaired the meeting and Regents Austin, Scott, and Flores were in attendance. The Finance and Audit Committee considered all items, and the committee agreed to move the agenda item to today's meeting for the board's consideration. The first item for consideration is TSUS tuition and fee rates. At this time, I'd like to call on Daniel Harper to provide a summary of the proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Derek, we'll go to the next slide. So for a high-level overview, tuition and fees, mandatory, undergraduate resident based on 15 semester credit hours. For the 5 universities, it's 3%, and then we've included would be the sticker price there. And for the 3 state colleges, it's 0%, so it's maintaining that 50% reduction that we had in place. At Lamar University, they're moving to a consolidated institutional services fee, and what that does is it rolls up some smaller fees into a single item, makes it more manageable, and they have an adjustment to their medical center, rec sports, and then a small increase to their existing nursing program fee. For Sam Houston State, what's included in the board book is an existing institutional services fee and a new MS in athletic training program fee. On the next slide is a slightly revised version of that. I included accidentally inaccurate amount for the fall of 2022, which had already been approved, so it's the same methodology, just corrects my typo. For Sol Ross, similar to others, a consolidated institutional services fee with an adjustment to the rec sports fee. They're moving forward to a graduate tuition and fee differential to reflect that graduate programs are more expensive to operate than undergraduate. And then a new nursing program fee, which is associated with the program the board approved 2 years ago. Rio Grande College, same as Sol Ross, with the consolidated institutional services fee and the graduate differential. Texas State University, this is what's included in the board book, and on the next slide is a revised proposal. This does not include an increase to the graduate designated tuition rate, but it does have the institutional services fee, a graduate differential on that fee, and then also a graduate differential for the College of Health Professions. And then for the state colleges, there's no change to the mandatory tuition and fee charges. For Lamar State College Orange, this consolidates the existing lab fees into a program fee of $60, and it's revenue neutral, and that's the same for Lamar State College Port Arthur. And that concludes my layout.
Thank you, Daniel. Chairman Austin, I move that the 2 accompanying revised schedules relating to tuition and fee rates be approved.
Do I hear a second? Regent Amato? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
The next 3 items on the agenda are informational items only. Operating budget adjustments for fiscal year 2022, annual foundation reports, and status of implementation of audit and compliance recommendations. The remaining items are included in the consent agenda. Ratification of tuition rates for non-credit courses at Lamar State Colleges. Mr. Chairman, this concludes the Finance and Audit Committee's report.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Regent Tinsley. We'll move on to the Planning and Construction. Regent Scott.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Planning and Construction Committee met on November the 8th, 2022 to discuss the Planning and Construction agenda. I chaired the meeting, and Regents Austin, Lee, and Flores were in attendance. The committee considered 3 items and agreed to move each of these items to today's meeting for the board's consideration. The first item for consideration is Sam Houston State University Design Development documents for the College of Osteopathic Medicine parking garage. A short video was prepared to show today with highlights of this project. Chairman Austin, I'd like to move the design development documents for the parking garage be approved.
Do I hear a second? Regent Lee. Any discussion? Kind of what I was thinking. We needed that video for sure. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, the next item for consideration is the Lamar State College Orange Design Development documents for the new academic building. And we'll see another video.
Daniel came up with the idea that we would do these videos, and the idea was that it's better than just looking at a piece of paper with a proposal, and I think we thank Daniel for this. Chairman Austin, I move that the design development documents for the new academic building be approved.
Do I hear a second? Regent Crane? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
The next item on our agenda is an informational item, the quarterly planning and construction report. There's no motion necessary. This is for information only. The remaining items are included in the consent agenda, additions to the current 2023-28 capital improvement program. This concludes our report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Regent Scott. A lot goes into the committee meetings and a lot of capital being spent and things getting approved. So we also, the university is doing a great job getting those up there and letting us look at it. I do think what we're doing is, you can see by the video, it says 1,000 words. I don't have to say a lot. Well done. So thank you. And with that, we'll go to the rules and regulations with Regent Flores, the chair.
Thank you, Chair. The Rules and Regulations Committee met by telephone on Wednesday, November 9th, 2022, and discussed the items on the Rules and Regulations agenda. I chaired the meeting, which was also attended by committee members Regent Foskey and Regent Tinsley. The Chancellor and representatives of the System Administration Office and of the component institutions were also present. The meeting was duly posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Law. During the presentation and discussion of the proposed rule changes, a motion was made and seconded and passed to further revise the language of the rule regarding the public art program. Those changes were noted and will be included in the minutes of the Rules and Regulations Committee meeting and the minutes of this meeting. The committee voted unanimously to recommend that all agenda items be placed on the consent agenda, and unless any regent would like to move one of those rules to the meeting agenda, the committee recommends that they remain as a part of the consent agenda. Mr. Chairman, this concludes the Rules and Regulations Committee report.
Thank you for your report, Regent Flores. In view of the Rules and Regulations Committee's recommendation to place these proposed rules on the consent agenda, no further action is required at this time. That will turn it over to the Government Relations Committee. Regent Amato.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite up Vice Chancellor Sean Cunningham to give a report, please.
Chairman Austin, Regents, Chancellor, thank you for the opportunity to address you here today. We are just over a week removed from the midterm elections and just under 2 months away from the start of the 88th legislative session. I want to begin my remarks by giving a quick election update, then turn your attention to the start of the legislative session and give a preview of that upcoming session. Lastly, I'll discuss some of the outreach we've been engaged in over the last several months and some interim hearings we've been participating in since the last board meeting. With respect to statewide legislative races, we experienced relatively little turnover and change in Texas. Perhaps one change I'll remark upon is that Dawn Buckingham, a friend of the TSUS, won her race and is now the first female land commissioner in the history of the state. In the Texas Senate, Republicans picked up 1 seat and now hold 19 seats to the Democrats' 12. In the Texas House, Republicans picked up 1 seat as well and now hold 86 seats to the Democrats' 64. To note, no House incumbent was defeated in the general election. I will provide a list of new House members for your reading pleasure later, but I will highlight just one new member, Christian Manuel Hayes of House District 22. Representative Hayes will be replacing longtime friend of Texas State University System, Joe Deshotel, and will now represent Lamar University, LIT, and Lamar State College, Port Arthur in the House. We have worked with Rep-elect Hayes for a long time now, as he was chief of staff to Representative Joe Desatel, so he's going to hit the ground running, very familiar with the district and all the higher education opportunities that exist within it. And I believe that President Renard has him speaking at a commencement coming up. This past Tuesday kicked off the unofficial start of the 88th legislative session, in that it was the first day legislators and legislators-elect were able to file bills for the upcoming session. This simply means that Pierce and I have started to read through the newly filed bills and will be reaching out to folks at our institutions so that we can get feedback and that we can share that with members who are still amenable to tweaking and perfecting their bills as legislation starts to make its way through the legislative gauntlet. For the purposes of your calendar, the official start date for regular session is Tuesday, January 10th of 23. Several of the big issues we expect to make headlines this session include property tax reform, school safety, tax incentives for businesses, border security, and infrastructure. That's a quick look ahead at the 30,000-foot level for the session. I also want to touch on the outlook for higher education next session, both from a budget and policy perspective. The budget outlook for next session can be described as positive. The Texas economy is strong with employment levels at pre-pandemic levels. Current spending is around $120 billion annually, with the current available revenue far exceeding that amount. In addition, there should be an estimated $20+ billion in the rainy day fund. A significant amount of the available revenue can be described as, quote, one-time due to federal stimulus funding and inflation. However, I do want to caution that we must consider other budget priorities like property tax reform, infrastructure, border security, and the ever-increasing demands on our healthcare system. It is likely the legislature will have far more revenue available to them to spend than the willingness to spend it. This will likely be a heavy policy session in both the House and Senate Higher Education committees. Several topics that are likely to be discussed this session include tenure reform, teacher and nursing shortage, school safety, which will affect our school safety center and alert programs, and there's going to be legislation that would advance research institutions. As always, we encourage our institutions to reach out with any questions, concerns, or even suggestions on any pieces of legislation they may have a question on. As I like to do, I want to update the board on some of the outreach the GR team has done these past several months since our last meeting. We have continued to strengthen and foster relationships with the new and existing staff, as well as members of the legislature. We hosted a large gathering of staff and members at O'Henry Hall with over 70 participants, including representatives from House Appropriations, the Governor's Office, Lieutenant Governor's Office, Senate Higher Education, and Speaker's Office. We also appreciate Representative John Busey for coming by the system office for those events. In addition, we participated in a productive lunch and learn on the issue of teacher workforce with other university systems in the Capitol. Special thank you to the Dean of Education at Texas State, Michael O'Malley, who participated in that and was at the forefront of this policy topic. I also want to thank Dr. Kathy Martinez-Prather with the School Safety Center, who has continued to meet tirelessly with members and staff as we approach what will likely be a legislative session that delves into school safety and active shooter situations. I also want to thank presidents in attendance who have hosted Commissioner Keller, Speaker Dade Phelan, and countless other senators and representatives these past months. The work you do at your campus has not gone unnoticed by our policymakers and will serve to greatly benefit our efforts this session. Since our last report, the Texas House Higher Education, Public Education Committees conducted a joint hearing to discuss the ongoing teacher workforce shortage. The Texas system played a pivotal role in that hearing, highlighted by Dean O'Malley of Texas State University. The TSUS governmental relations team and other systems are currently engaged with members and staff to draft several policy and funding proposals to help address this shortage. I'm not going to go into in detail the federal update. I've passed that out to you so you can read that at your leisure. It's pretty dense, and so just if you have any questions in the coming days, months, please know that just give me a call and we can discuss those further. With that, I close.
Thank you.
Any questions, anyone? Thank you very much, Sean. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Cunningham. Since no action is required on this report, the board will now consider contracts, personnel, and miscellaneous items. The next order of business is approval of contracts. We have one action item under contracts from Sul Ross State University to delegate the authority to negotiate and execute a contract between Sul Ross State University and Lone Star Conference. At this time, I would like to ask President Carlos Hernandez to comment.
Thank you, Chair Austin. We are seeking authority to move from the American Southwest Conference to the Lone Star Conference, as we believe this will be beneficial to our athletic programs in many ways. It will allow us, for one, to become more competitive by offering scholarships to athletes in all sports. It will also place us in a better regional fit with competitors that are more co-located in that part of the state and in adjacent states, and thereby decrease our travel distances, particularly in football. So we're eager to join this conference if we can work out appropriate terms and conditions on the contractual agreement, and we seek your favorable approval of this item. Thank you.
Thank you, President Hernandez. Regents, are there any comments or questions? Regent Flores.
President Hernandez, who are some of the teams in the Lone Star Conference?
So the ones that are most relevant to us would be right up the street on I-20. We'll be in the same conference with UT Permian Basin. We will also have Texas A&M West Texas, Texas A&M, and there's a couple of schools, I forget the names of them, both in New Mexico, which will be a short travel distance for us. So those are the four football teams that will be in our conference. In addition to Kingsville, will also be in our conference in the Lone Star Conference.
Thank you.
Do you have do you have the resources, the financial resources to comfortably move into this conference?
That'll be part of the contract negotiation that we'll enter into with Lone Star Conference, but we believe we have the capacity to absorb this, especially with decreased costs associated with travel. We'll be able to offset the increased cost of scholarships.
Okay. Just for the record, I think it's a good idea. I think athletics is a really good way to build your brand, and I think it's a great idea.
Mr. Chairman, President Hernandez, is this going to be a more competitive, do you think, conference, or what do y'all think, football, basketball-wise?
It will elevate our competition from Division III to Division II, so yes, it will be more competitive. And by allowing us to participate in scholarship programs for our athletes, we believe we'll be more competitive in this conference than in the American Southwest Conference.
Anybody else? Okay, Regents, I move that the Chancellor be authorized to negotiate and execute a contract for membership in the Lone Star Conference by and between Sul Ross State University and Lone Star Conference. Do I hear a second? Regent Lee? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Well done.
Big move.
Agree. Go win. All the remaining items in the contract section have been moved to the consent agenda. Are there any questions from the board? There being no objections, these items are moved to the consent agenda. The next order of business is personnel. The only action item in this section will be taken up later in the agenda, and the remaining item in this section are the faculty personnel reports, and these can be found in the consent agenda. The next order of business is the miscellaneous section. The remaining action items in the miscellaneous section have been moved to Friday's agenda, and all remaining items on the miscellaneous section are in the consent agenda. Okay, before we recess to executive session, I would like to share with the group this evening's reception and dinner begins at 6. Please plan to meet at 5:45 in the Holiday Inn lobby for transportation to the event. Dress attire is business attire. The board will now recess to the executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. No votes will be taken in executive session. For the record, the time is 1:27 p.m. We will now reconvene in open session. The time is 4:07 p.m. For the record, in compliance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, no votes were taken or decisions reached in executive session. We have one more item of business before we recess for the day. Regents, the motion is in front of you and on the screen. It is a personnel item from Texas State University System appointing Dr. Carlos Hernandez as president of Sul Ross State University. Chancellor McCall, would you like to comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since June 4th of 2022, Dr. Hernandez has served as interim president of Sul Ross State University and served the system well. But he served the system before that as chief financial officer of Sam Houston, and so I have worked with and known and seen the work ethic and the work product and the personal integrity of this gentleman for many years, and it is my privilege to recommend for your consideration that he be appointed the permanent president of Sul Ross State University.
Thank you, Dr. McCall. Regents, do you have any questions or comments?
I'd like to make the motion if at all possible.
Yes, sir.
I would like to make the motion that Dr. Carlos Hernandez, who has been serving as interim president of Sul Ross State University, be promoted and appointed as president of Sul Ross State University effective immediately.
Second, Regent Flores. Any discussion? Is there any objection to this motion? Hearing none, the motion passes. Congratulations, Dr. Hernandez. We would like to say Dr. Hernandez, would you like to say anything?
Chair Austin, Board, and Chancellor McCall, thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to continue serving the system, the students, faculty, and staff of Sul Ross State University, and I'm just thrilled. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would just comment for the university system itself to have someone from one university move to the other. It does make me feel good as a regent that we are building depth within our faculty and within our presidents and cabinets. It certainly shows the depth of the university and what we can do. So, Chancellor McCall, I credit you and the team at the system as well as the presidents. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Hernandez. Is there no further business? We will stand in recess for the day and reconvene in open session tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. The time is 4:09.